I think that if we live in a world where we open the door to the minor infractions and say, come on girls, just put up with it, it's not that big a deal if a man shouts about your boobs in the street, then you're bringing people up, and young people especially, in a society where you say it's okay to see women as second-class citizens, and that opens the door to some of the more serious abuses. A lot of people have come to the site, seen other women writing about things that have happened, and gone, actually, I do have the right to stand up to this. Other people are standing up to this. It's not making a fuss about nothing. You know, you asked what had shocked me. The number of people who write in who are under the age of 16, girls aged 12 and 13, who are being groped and grabbed and touched at school. There was a young woman who wrote to us to say that she had been masturbated on the tube on her way to work. So many stories from women in the workplace who don't feel able to report what's happening because they're afraid of losing their jobs, particularly in this climate. I was groped on the bus, no one said a word. That speaks volumes about what we're prepared to accept. And I think if enough people on that bus that day, even one or two, had stood up and said, what are you doing? That's not okay. It sends such a clear message about what is and isn't socially acceptable, and we can all play a part in that. So much of what we needed in terms of legislation in this country, particularly in policy, has already been won, but what we're seeing is that it isn't trickling down to have an impact on the ground. So for example, workplace sexual harassment legislation is fantastic, but the biggest single category of incidents that's reported to us is women in the workplace being harassed, experiencing sexism, experiencing even forms of abuse and assault, and being discriminated against. So obviously that's not actually having an impact. And as frustrating as it is, what we need is a cultural shift. It has to be about us each going out there and taking responsibility for the circle that we move in, challenging our friends, challenging our peers, and standing up to it when we see it, so that we change this idea that sexism is just normal and socially acceptable and kind of a bit of a laugh. The wonderful thing about living in London, I think, is that at least there's this incredible sense of community. There are people doing these incredibly exciting, vibrant, creative things. And it makes me feel really hopeful that we are finding ways of addressing the problem and that there is so much appetite. We've heard from so many male Londoners who've talked about ways that they've started challenging these issues. We heard from one man who was walking past a building site, and there were two women walking past at the same time. And some of the builders shouted, "Get your boobs out," at the women. And he just quickly lifted his t-shirt up instead. Now, I know it's just a small gesture, but actually it sends a message to those guys. You know, why would you say it to them? You wouldn't say it to me. And it sends a message to those women, you're not alone actually, and I will take a stand, I will stand up for you.